Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Asherah Rose and welcome to my PhD journey where I'm exploring dissociative identity disorder / psychosis with conscious expansion, where I mix the 3D world and the 5D world basically together. I'm also practicing or training to become a shamanic practitioner, and I also have qualifications in mental health. Right up to PhD. So today it's a little bit different. I've left out fairly early. It's literally 21 minutes past 8 in the morning. I'm on my way to the city centre, which usually is about 30 minutes, but today it's going to take about 45 minutes. And today is the 25th, I believe. Yeah, Tuesday the 25th of November 2025. So I thought I'd just jump on this morning before I get to where I'm going, because it seems like it might be a whole day today, and I'm on my way to a business networking event just by the university. And yeah, I think it's really nice, to be fair, to kind of demonstrate how even though I'm feeling the shamanic pull, if you like, I can still kind of pull myself to the left of myself, if you like, and kind of maintain level-headed, maintain level-headed, as in being in a corporate world environment and not necessarily going to a shamanic dance. But that doesn't mean that I don't still have downloads. That doesn't mean that I still don't hear spirit, because I do. All of those things are still at play, but it's almost like I've learned to adapt to my surroundings from a child, to be fair. I've learned to adapt to my surroundings, to literally not ignore it, but and not block it out per se, but hear it and not react to it. Yeah, probably it's more that. It's hearing the voices, seeing the downloads, getting the premonitions, hearing spirit talk about the people that I meet. So for example, I'll meet new people today at this networking event, and spirit will be giving me information about the people that I meet, wrongly or rightly, and sometimes it's relevant to this dimension and sometimes it's not, so it just depends basically. But it's just interesting, and it would have been nice to be able to kind of film myself in that environment, so we could actually see whether or not the different personalities pop out, which I know they do. I probably wasn't as aware of it as I am now, but the different personalities definitely do. Depending on who I'm around, it would just, and depending on what's said around me too, and sometimes it's not always at the right time, to be fair. There's been times where Sasha's popped out and said something in a corporate environment and I've got the looks and I know I've done something wrong, but sometimes I don't even know what I've done wrong. Sometimes it literally is right. I've said something because I've got emotional intelligence, and I can see that the energy in the circle has just changed, or I can see that the energy has dropped, or I can see that certain facial expressions look offended but I haven't got a clue what I said to cause it. So now it's different. It's like being more in an observer seat, where I'm actually analysing the things that I'm saying. I'm analysing the things that I'm doing, so that I can catch myself in the moment and know, not necessarily where I've gone wrong, because I don't believe there is any wrong or right, but just know what happened. What did I do or what did I say for that to be the case, or for that to change, or for this to change. And then also, because I've had some recent spiritual events, like for example, I was attacked by some negative energy in my house last week, to the point where I ended up with a massive cocoa, which has more or less gone down. It's still a little bit shiny depending on the angle, but it's more or less gone down, and I've got some bruising and some cuts on my body, etc. But since that situation, I've been recording saying that it feels lighter around me. It's less noisier, it's less busy, it's less dense, it's less heavy, So I don't know where everyone's gone. That's what I kept saying. I don't know where everybody's gone, but it definitely feels different. That much I can confirm. And it feels different in all the ways that I just mentioned. That it used to feel like a fucking Grand Central Station.
Attention. In 1 mile, Stationary traffic.
I used to feel like Grand Central Station, like so busy. And to be honest, I have to admit that even though it was busy, I'd become just accustomed to it. So it wasn't like, oh my God, can everybody get out? Can you stop being around me? It had become my norm. It actually feels rather weird now, not having this heaviness, this fullness, this noise, this denseness around me. It feels quite eerie, but at the same time I'm learning to adapt to it, and I've been speaking to the ancestors and that about it, and there's an element of it where the certain entities that were around me have ascended beyond, and that's why they're not there anymore, because it's kind of like them moving out the way and making way for new entities to come in. So there's an element of that. There's an element of being under surveillance, you know, and having certain monitoring spirits. Oh my God, the traffic is so big. Oh my God. Having certain experiences where there's monitoring spirits or energies around me that are watching, talking, conspiring, and I mean on the 4D level and the 5D level, it's felt like. So on the 4D level, it's felt like, you know, human beings or beings on this planet that I know have had access to kind of spy on me and know certain information. I know it's true because there's been certain things that have happened. So for example, when I went away last year to Africa on February the 14th 2024, 2 days before I was going, and I'd only told my 2 sons that I was going away, my ex-husband emailed me to say he's dropping the kids off. Now I had emailed him 2 weeks before about the half-term holiday. What's happening? Am I having the kids this week or are you? And he's just ignored me. And now that I've booked on the Monday to go on the Wednesday, he's contacting me on the Monday telling me that he's going to drop the kids off on Wednesday, the day that I'm leaving. So obviously him panicking, literally trying to pull a fast one. Not that he's asking me if he's dropping the kids off, he's literally telling me he'll be at my house at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I just ignored it. I did, because I already knew that I had plans, and I didn't believe he was just going to turn up like that anyway. And he didn't, because he didn't send no follow-up email. There was no "where are you, I'm outside the house," nothing like that. It was just like a scare tactic, because he'd come into some information that I was leaving the country. You know, at least that's how it was interpreted by myself, because we don't have communication, we don't reach out like that, you know. It's literally to do with the kids. And as I said, he'd been ignoring me for weeks until this particular moment when I'd booked. So that's what I mean about the 3D monitors, you know, like there's certain entities, there's certain beings that monitor on the 3D level, but then there are also spirits monitoring in the 5D, you know, and they're monitoring for different reasons. So an example of that would be, you know, a really scary example. 2022, I was living in Sutton Coldfield, and I'd come back from dance. So I was going to Latin and ball dancing on a Tuesday, and every Tuesday I'd have a prayer at 22:22. So I just finished my 22:22 prayer, and I had some Asherah music on in the background and was dancing and flowing, and then my arm just started going round and round and round in a circle above my head, until I did this. It's like a portal opened, and there was this galaxy, this star constellations, mist, it was like purple, it was blues, it was beautiful. There's all these tiny stars and all these, I don't know, whatever. And I was just looking at it in complete admiration, like, wow, what the fuck, but wow. And then as I'd kind of been spinning around for a while, just admiring it and still listening to the music in the background, I felt a feeling, like not a feeling of panic, but just being watched. So I've opened up my eyes, and when I've opened up my eyes, I can see this silhouette of a man entity in the doorway of my ensuite. So obviously eyes wide open at this point, and I've gone, what the fuck? Who are you? And he's turned around and he said, Metatron or meta something, but telepathically. And I said, well, who the fuck is that? What are you doing in my bathroom? Who sent you? So he's turned around and says that he's recording everything down. I said, recording what? He said, everything that you're doing. I said, what for? He said, to report back. I said, report back to who? But honestly, I was outside my body by this point. Because in my head, it was like, right, as far as I'm concerned, between myself and spirit and everything that my spirit guides have told me to do, on a normal level, a shamanic level, a spiritual level, earthly level, whatever fucking level you want to call it, I have been obedient and I have done. And as far as I'm concerned, my house is like Fort Knox. Entities and spirits can't just walk up and down in here. What the fuck? So I'm really pissed at this point because there's an entity in my room. I do not know who the fuck it is. They're actually telling me that they're watching me and recording everything that I'm doing. I'm already fucking paranoid. I don't need this shit, you know. I don't need this fucking shit. So I start kicking off, telling it to get the fuck out of my house. You know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here. I was so rude, disrespectful. It was another level, man. But I was also really scared and very panicked, because I just didn't understand how this has happened. So when I've said get the fuck out type of thing, it's kind of disappeared, if you like. And I've turned to my altar to speak directly to my ancestors to say, what the fuck? So I'm now on my knees at this point by the altar, like, you know, I need an explanation, because one, I felt very unsafe to know that I'd literally stepped into a belief system that I was untouchable in the house and that the house was a safe place. And it was almost like those walls had kind of like been shook, because now there's a fucking entity in my yard. Wagwan spirit team. You know what I'm saying? Every man's supposed to be on every door at every corner. How have you allowed this to happen? So everyone's shut mouth in the spiritual world. My ancestors and that aren't saying much at all. So because I'm not really getting much out of them, nobody's saying, oh, it's this, or nobody's saying, oh, it's that. So I'm just jumping to all assumptions that it's my ex-baby father, like my ex-husband, that has fucking broke through whatever my barrier is, come in the house to fucking spy on me, because what he was doing is sending, or what it all felt like is that he was sending entities through my children. You know, so my children would go there for a weekend every 2 weeks and come back and just be fucking possessed, man. So I've always got to be bathing them in spiritual baths or incensing, smudging them out, smudging the house out, because they're just going on crazy. Their voice would change, their behavior would change, like all kinds of freaky shit. And because it wasn't just me that was seeing it, there was other people seeing it, like, what's wrong with your kids, man? What's wrong with it was like some of it I couldn't ignore anymore. Like, you know, at one point I could just ignore it and say, oh, it's all in my mind. I'm just imagining it. Don't worry about it. The kids are fine. Crack on. But when like other people were there and my daughter's like, Mommy. But listen, there's certain things that, you know, you can't ignore, and you just have to kind of face them head on and deal with that bullshit, man. And that's what I've been doing. So to know that there was an entity in my house, it really did shake me. So anyway, I went downstairs to where my boys were. They were in the garage playing PlayStation, and I says to them, listen, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but some entity was just in my room. And when I asked it who it was, it said it was Metatron, something. And the kids went, Meta, whatever his name is from the Transformers. So they scared the shit out of me again. So I was like, no. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, nah, Mom, that dude's serious. If it is him from where, then he ain't a nice person. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even want to go back in my bedroom. I did not even want to go back in my bedroom, but I did. Because at the end of the day, I'm a brave warrior. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, carried on kind of getting on with what I'm getting on with. Still looking at the ensuite bathroom to see whether or not there was anybody there that was hanging out or anything like that. And then I think a week or so after that, I'd gone and met a friend, because we'd gone to like a dance studio to do like contemporary dancing. She's a dancer professionally. That's what she does, as well as works at a college that I used to work at. That's how I know her. She used to be the admin when I was lecturing there, so we just kind of started chatting. So anyway, she invited me along to this dance class. So I'd gone, and then at the end, I dropped her home. And when I dropped her home, I was outside her house and we were chatting, and we were talking about certain things. And she was like, "No, man, reared her head. He got into a spiritual conversation, and to be honest, I don't think I'd actually had a spiritual conversation with her until that point. We would get into it, don't get me wrong, and we would have deep conversations, because I wouldn't go to her house or chill with her if the conversations weren't deep like that. But this was a different type of conversation I was having with her. It was deeper than the norm, and we were sitting in the car, but conversation was just going from one thing to another. So anyway, she turned around and she said something about, don't you protect yourself? And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, don't you call upon your archangels? I was like, archangels? What archangels? Like, I know of certain archangels like Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, etc. But those have always been related to kind of like Catholicism or something like that, not necessarily Christianity. You know, Christianity, I've never been in church and someone's referenced an archangel or anything like that. You know, it just wasn't the domination that I was raised in. So I said no, and she pulled out from her neck a necklace, and it had like a little, whatever it was, symbolic little thing on it. And she said, I always ask for protection from Archangel Raphael, she said. And I said, Archangel? She said, yeah, you need to know who your archangels are. You can call upon them for protection. You know, they're bad boy. And I said, you know what? I don't know who my protection is, but I know I need some protection, because the other day I was in my yard. I'm there dancing around. I've opened some type of vortex above my head. Next thing you know, some entities in the bathroom telling me that it's Metatron. So she jumped up out the seat, which again, I'm scared for the third time now. I was scared when the entity was in my bedroom. I was scared when the boys jumped when I said its name. And now I'm saying the name again, and this girl's jumping. I'm like, I've had enough. So she's gone, Metatron. I said, I don't know, meta something. And she said, listen, I knew you was highly spiritual, but I didn't know you was that high. She said, like, Metatron is one of the most, like, he's one of the highest archangels, you know what I mean? It's a serious guy. So I was like, what? Who is he? And she was like, you know what? It's probably best that you do some research around him and get to kind of know a little bit more about him. So I was like, all right then. So we finished up our conversation. I went home that night and I went on YouTube and I started researching as much as I could on Metatron, and I started to discover that a lot of what I was into was already linked to him. So imagine back in like 2017 or whatever it was, I bought these necklaces. Could have been 2015 to be fair. I bought these necklaces. They were just like this little glass disc, and it had 6 points on there, and the 6 points were like, the 6 points meant something, but it didn't mean anything to do with Metatron at the time when I'd purchased it. You know, Metatron wasn't even, it weren't even on the table basically. But I'd purchased them, and they were money, you know, for these little glass things, and I ended up buying 3 of them, and 1 for me and 1 each for the boys, my older boys. So, and then also, so basically when I was learning about Metatron, it was talking about his shape, the Metatron cube, the Metatron star, if you like, the 6-pointed star, and all the rest of it. So I could see certain shapes and I could see certain symbols around my bedroom at the time that was all linked to this Metatron. And even on my back, I've got the geometric Metatron shape, you know what I mean? Like, it's a thing for me. And also the colours that I was wearing at the time, very magentic, pinks, you know, vibrant kind of pinks, or like an array of different pinks and everything. And that's allegedly his colour, sorry. So there was like I said, a lot of symbols, etc. So I started talking to the guy that I was with, the fuck nigger, which was Waqar, the Pakistani guy. And I told him that I'd seen this entity in my bedroom. The entity had said that his name was Metatron or something along those lines. And these are his shapes and his symbols, and these are the things that I've kind of been seeing throughout my life. So he was like, this is weird. This is weird. So we just we had that conversation, just left it as that. So anyway, he come back to me a few days later, and he was like, you never guess what? I said, what? He said, you'll never guess what? I said, what? I said, I'm not going to guess, tell me. So he said, you know that symbol that he was talking about with Metatron? He said, listen, it's the symbol that we use in Islam for our most sacred holy water, a water called Zamzam. Do you know what I mean? And they use that 6-point symbol, the Metatron symbol, as a symbol for the Zamzam. So I don't know about the Metatron guy, but I know about the symbols that you've been using because they're in Islam. You know, they're Islamic symbols too. You know what I mean? So that just kind of escalated more conversation, because we would sit and we would literally chop it up, man. We'd go deep. I'd bring in like the spiritual / Christianity perspective, and he would bring in the Islam and what that kind of meant, not just to him, but what it meant as a way of life as well as a religion. So we'd sit down there, we'd have some really profound conversations. And when he brought the kind of Islamic side, and I started to research how it has links to Metatron, how Metatron was the most devoted man on earth in terms of biblical texts, and all he wanted to do was to spend his time with God the Most High. So he literally built a ladder, allegedly, to a tower to climb up to the heavens to be with God. But he reached there, apparently, or allegedly again, he reached there, and God, because of his devotion, God turned him into an angel. So that's why he's an earth angel. So his earthly name was Metatron. He then got crowned to be an angel, but he was an earth angel. And when he was crowned an earth angel, he was given the name Metatron. You know, so it just so many profound stuff came out, which led to some phenomenal ascensions that led to me seeing past lives, logging into or tapping into, rather, not logging into, but tapping into what's this card doing? Oh my god. Tapping into past lives, tapping into Akashic records. It was just phenomenal, really, really phenomenal. So yeah, so that was my experience of meeting one particular entity in the house. But as I said, these entities at the moment, there's something in the house, because there's something walking around, there's something moving things over, and there has been since I've got back from Bali. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't there prior, but it definitely wasn't moving things the way that it has been moving things since I've got back from Bali. You know, it could have come from Bali bloody with me, the stuff that I was getting on with in Bali, because I went to so many spiritual places and so many spiritual shrines and purification and places. And honestly, my ancestors, they had me up and down, man. They literally, I put the work in. I really did put the work in spiritually. But I don't think anything bad or negative, you know, like even when I'm in the house with it, it doesn't feel like negative. It feels like it wants to get out the house, to be fair. But my ancestors are telling me, no, do not smudge it and do not let it leave just yet. And I don't know why. And doesn't that sound so weird that I'm actually being told, don't let the entity go? Now, my shamanic teacher, when she left the voice message last week, she says to me to smudge out the house and get rid of it after that energy attack. But my ancestors are telling me no. It's so weird, because I keep getting contradictory messages. And when I say contradictory, like my ancestors will say one thing, and then my shamanic tutor will say something different. And it's kind of like, well, who do I listen to? Because I want to be obedient in the 3D, and I want to be obedient in the 5D. Now, they have been very clear with me that I do need to do this 3D experience, even though I'm a bloodline shaman and a lot of this information is within me anyway. I still need to go through the 3D experience of this shaman training, and I want to go through it wholeheartedly. I don't want to cut any corners. But what I'm finding is that I actually feel like an inner resistance to some of it. So I'm supposed to be like nearly 7 days in to a 21-day affirmation, if you like, where I'm saying these negative words, transmuting them into halfway words, and then elevating them into ascended words. So the negative word, if you like, would be unworthy, unworthy, unworthy. And then it would be a neutral word, which is acceptance, acceptance. And then it would be something like divine, unworthy, empowerment, or something like that. Empowerment, empowerment, empowerment. And you're supposed to feel your energy go from a low dense energy to a midway energy to an elevated energy or an elevated state. And I've tried to do it even on camera. I have tried to do it, but a lot of them I'm just not feeling. Even though some of them halfway I am feeling. When I elevate it up and it feels yummy, I feel those feelings anyway. Does that make sense? Like I'm in that self-love zone. I'm in that it feels really good. I'm in that I can conjure joy and happiness from within at a moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have all of these negative energies and negative feelings and negative thoughts holding me down. And yeah, I kind of feel like it's not a waste of time in a negative way, but it almost feels unstimulating. And I think that's where the resistance comes from. Even though I'm trying not to be resistant, I'm trying to like dedicate my time to this exercise and really put 125% in. So yeah, I'm not sure how to do it, because once you break the 21 day cycle, so for example, if you don't do it on one of the days, the expectation is that you start from 21 again. So I know that I have to start from day 21 again, and it shouldn't be a problem for me to commit to 21 days at all, you know, because I'm someone who commits to things for long periods of time. But then I'm also somebody who gets really bored after a while too, so maybe there's a little bit of that going on. But either way, I do need to make a decision. Either I'm going to do it like I said I was going to do it and commit to this 3D experience, or I'm not going to do it and I don't need to worry about it anymore. Yeah, something for me to think about, food for thought. But I think by the end of today I should make a decision. With regards to my shamanic training, it's going really well. I'm doing some journaling, which is helping really. It's helping a lot. The journaling is. And what I'm finding, even when I did my last journal session with my shamanic tutor last week, I'm getting to the point quickly. Sometimes you can go on a journey and it takes you ages and ages to get from one point to another point, to work out who's there on this journey, what they've handed you, what doors you've gone through, what you've seen, what was said, you know, because it's about traveling through your mind's eye. It's about taking yourself on a journey in your mind's eye to go and meet ancestors or your spiritual team or extraterrestrials or the spirit council, whatever it may be. But you go on these mental journeys and then you feed back to the tutor or the group at the end. I'm not with a group anymore. I've moved from the group into just one-to-one with the shamanic trainer. But when Stacey, she took me through 3 journeys last week, and when I went through them, straight away I knew the answers. Straight away I could see what I needed to see. Straight away Spirit was on it, and I was able just to give it her. So one of the journeys was I had to go back to my past life, one of my past lives, or the past life where I had done the most evil, disruptive, wicked, you know, inhumane things on this planet. Yeah. So I was able to find that past life fairly quickly, identify with the person I was back then, see what I looked like, see what I was doing, etc. And I was a woman, believe it or not. We seem to think that men are the worst in it, but you know, and find that self that I was, and talk to the self that I was at that time to make me know that that isn't the way that it was supposed to be, and that I've paid that karmic debt in this lifetime, and then take her by the hand and lead her through a door so that not that she can cross over, because it's not so much a death, but it's almost like I'm collecting all of my past selves along the way. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming to understand and coming to acknowledge and bringing us all in union. And I'm doing that through the shamanic practitioners training. But in all honesty, I was doing that before the shamanic training. I've been seeing myself as past life, past entities, past figures, you know, and it's really been helping. It's really been helping to kind of shape and understand who I am today, and my personality traits and my behavior traits. You know, it's like I've you know, I've seen myself as Isis, and I'm reading a book at the moment, an audio called the Alchemy of Nine Dimensions. But the book before this, which is about the Akan people, they talk about African traditional religions and their connections to deities like Isis. And when it was talking about how they understand Isis to be and the characters of Isis, I was like, bang, bang, that's me, man. That is so me. But obviously there's been other things that have happened throughout my lifetime and my years that have given me an understanding that there is a connection to this particular deity. So it's just all profound. It's such a learning journey. The ascension journey, the growth journey has been phenomenal. And again, it's all Gnostics. It's all inner knowing. You know, very little of it is coming from outside. Where the outside is coming from, or the outside influence, outside information is coming from, is me fact checking. It's me fact checking, because obviously I've come to some understanding, some inner understanding, and I just need to verify if what I've come to understand is even a thing, if it's even real. You know, like the example that I just gave, of me having some entity just ascend on me in my bathroom and give me a name, and then me researching these names or coming across these things and then realizing that there was a connection there all along. God, it's a little bit like that. Well, not a little bit, it is that. Right, I'm nearly at my location. It is 8:52. It's took ages. Look at that. I'm at least 20 minutes away when I say that I'm near my, well, probably about 15 minutes. 10 on a good day. 5 on a better day. Not today. It starts at 9 o'clock anyway, so I won't be too late, as long as I can find parking. But yeah, so I'm gonna see if I can do some filming when I'm inside. I do want to do some reviews on what I've done so far, because I'm literally on video 70 now for the PhD mental health, and I think video 13 for the shamanic, and then I've also put up about 7 videos relating to like different experiences. I'm gonna start uploading loads of videos of my time in Africa, my time in Tunisia, my time in Jamaica, and my time in Dubai and Bali. So those are the places that I've traveled to this year that spirit has taken me on, and I've had some of the most profound spiritual experiences of my bloody life. And yeah, I've done the videos and everything on them, so I'm gonna shove them, upload them up, and see how we get on. And then there's also videos where I've just kept like daily diaries, not every day, but most days sometimes, and I want to kind of just put those up to record, as well as I've still got the digital, when I say digital, the numerology paperwork and book that I'd written in 2022. Spirit really wants me to touch on that, so I'm just going to take my time and go through, okay, and see how it all pieces together. I'm looking forward to see what AI has to say about it all, and I'm really looking forward that when these videos start to kind of populate and different views start to come in and people start to share their opinion, I'm really looking forward to see what people make of it, you know. So on that note, I'm gonna say bye, because the sun is absolutely blinding this morning. How beautiful is it to have such sunshine in November? I don't even want to black out all of it, I just want to be able to see the car in front. Yeah, so okay, until next time, bye.